Hello, friends. I just wanted to come on real quick. Hopefully, this is a short video um, about realizing imposter syndrome. So, I actually never heard of this term, or well, maybe I have, but I just didn't pay no attention to it. But I think it was yesterday. I heard the term. Today's Saturday, Sunday. So maybe it was Friday. Maybe it was 2 days ago. Maybe it was yesterday. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I heard about imposter syndrome, and this time it caught my attention. And so, oh, I think it was on Terry at Holding Your Space. It was her morning meditation, and imposter syndrome came up. It actually caught my attention, and somebody or a few people were kind enough to give a little definition of what it was, and it's about feeling like you're a fake or a phony or incompetent and stuff like that. And I remember um, hearing about like we have to get rid of it. We have to get rid of um, the feeling of feeling like an imposter, like to banish imposter syndrome or something like along those lines. And so I didn't pay much attention to it, but I understand like with some of us feel like these are like negative energies, and it's something that should be pushed away. Um, and so maybe that's why I didn't like really focus on it because I know like when we label things like syndrome, it's a bad thing, right? It puts a negative spin on it or like like there's something wrong with us. And I try not to ever, well, I don't want to say ever, never. I don't like to talk in absolutes, but I try to avoid situations or thought processes that put me in that space. So maybe it's another reason why I just chose to like disregard the talk of imposter syndrome. But the reason why I bring this up today to make an actual video about it is because I actually went through it this morning when I made the day 20 video um, for our series of celebrating you. And so the topic for day 20 was playing sports. And I was thinking like, big picture wise, playing sports was huge for me. And, just seeing the benefits that I got out of it, it mirrored the feeling that I was feeling mirrored the same feelings that I felt of accomplishment and stuff like that. And so where I started to get lost, so I thought, oh, that would be a good entry for day 20. But where I got started to get lost was the definition of the word pride, proud, achievement and accomplishment. And so once I removed the definition and I only focused on the energy, then I realized, oh, they mirror each other. But how I felt like I was where the imposter syndrome comes in was like I could hear the voices like, oh, you can't do that. That's not technically correct. Or that's stupid. That's a stupid that's a stupid thought process. Or all these things were like running through my head very quickly actually. Um, but it it drove the point home quickly that you know um, it wasn't a wise decision to do it, and for some reason I did it anyway. I was like, no, you know what? I'm gonna focus on what I'm gonna focus on the energy that I felt instead of the definition. And so I said, okay. But then after I made the video, I started thinking about it again. And you know how I like to do, I like to go down rabbit holes. And so I was sitting with this whole imposter syndrome thing in regards to my day 20 video and how I started to feel like, oh, that's a dumb idea, it's stupid. And so um I asked myself why 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 did this come up? And so clearly it's about my ego, right? Like the ego mind comes in and says this stuff. And then so I asked the next question, well, uh, what does that make you feel? Well, I feel it makes me feel insecure. It makes me feel like I wasn't smart. And so I was like, well, why would ego say this? Why would my ego mind say like, hey, that's a stupid idea. Don't do it. You shouldn't do it. Um, you're not following the rules or the definition correctly. Um, People are going to ridicule you and you're going to feel horrible for it. And it was interesting sitting with just those thoughts right there, because I don't fear ridicule. I'm not uh, I'm not worried about somebody saying like, "Oh, that was a bad video," or like, "Why don't you do something more productive with your own time?" Like those thoughts never cross my mind when I do this stuff. It's just about sharing my thoughts in the moment, um, because when people share their thoughts, like it gets me to think about myself, and it gets me to think like, "Whoa," question things for the better. Like how can I make myself better? What if I look at things like the way like Teresa Ford is saying it? Then, oh, okay, yeah, that changed my outlook. Or you know, um, Annie Bear's got a point. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, that's different. Maybe I can apply that to myself, and I get a little bit better. And so I was sitting with that, and I was thinking about like, oh, I think what the big thing is I have a problem with feeling stupid, like, and not feeling not smart, because not everybody is smart, and I'm okay with that. Me personally, I know that I'm not the sharpest crayon in the box, and I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me, because some people are very smart, very intelligent, but maybe my wisdom comes out differently and shows differently, you know, and I'm okay with that. But I guess I have a problem with feeling stupid, like, because it makes me feel less than. Because when I was growing up in school, I did feel stupid because I did struggle with learning. I didn't read well. Like I knew how to read, but it was it was very hard for me to learn with reading. And back in the day, that's the only way you learned was by reading. Um, Nowadays there's more techniques for kids that struggle with reading or learning by reading. Teachers are more sophisticated, and school systems are more forgiving for children with not special needs, but with you know different abilities. And I think I was one of those kids. I was one of those kids that could learn by doing something, or by having a conversation, but not by reading it on my own. That I did struggle with. So that's where I thought, like, oh, okay, so this is where this imposter syndrome is leading to, right? And so I realized, like, oh, this is coming from my childhood. And then so I started thinking, well, why would ego say this stuff though? Right? And it was like, oh, because ego's trying to protect me, right? So if ego's saying, hey, don't do that, you're fake, and if I don't do it, then I'll never realize the ridicule. or I'll never realize, or I'll never put myself in the opportunity of being ridiculed or feeling stupid. And it's a way of protecting myself, right? And so I was like, wow, what a blessing. In a way, my ego mind is trying to protect me from experiencing something that I don't want to experience because I have I have issues with feeling that way. And so the ego steps in and says, "Hey, like it doesn't say, 'Hey, I'm going to help you by protecting you, by calling you stupid so that it forces you to react,' right? So like if we're pushed into a situation where, you know, we're forced to make a decision, like your ego mind saying, 'Hey, Richard, you're stupid. Don't do it.' You know, don't be fake, don't be phony, follow the rules, like don't do it so that you don't feel bad, right? And then that's the way of protecting myself. But then I thought about it again and I was like, if I listened or if I said like, "Oh, this is imposter syndrome, I got to banish it or I got to get rid of it or something like that," then I would have never realized the moment, right? Of like, "Oh, what's actually going on here is I have a an insecurity that I've carried for all these years, stemming with um, feeling stupid, you know, and how bad that makes me feel or insecure, right? But I think what just happened this morning was imposter syndrome was a blessing because I chose to sit with it and acknowledge it and go down the rabbit hole or ponder or peel back the layers of the onion, however you want to, describe it. Um, but I learned a little bit something about myself by realizing what imposter syndrome is. So I guess, you know, maybe it's not a bad thing. Like we look at things uh, with negative light, but maybe it's not about negative or positive. It's just light. So how we choose to label that light is up to us. So imposter syndrome maybe it's not such a bad thing after all. Maybe it's the blessing that we need, like the universe is saying, here's an opportunity for you if you really want to look into it. But yeah, that was my ponder this morning, something that I went through, and I thought I should share it with you or share it with everybody, just in case it might, you know, I don't want to say trigger, but lead you in a path where you might want to go, for self betterment. But I think I'll end it here. I think I was able to say what everything that I wanted to say. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Um, and thank you for taking part in the 30 days. Even those people that haven't been doing it for 30 days, that's okay. Even if you do it for 5 days or 2 days. I think I think the exercise of reflecting and, you know, um looking into things is more important than whatever like challenge or stuff that we're labeling it as. But just going back and reliving moments, there's a lot of good in that. All right, well, I'll end it here. In closing, remember, in order to eat the fruit from the tree, sometimes you have to go out on a limb. Embrace your fears because it's a good thing. See you guys.